Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to use a serger to sew a knit t-shirt. We're going to first of all practice. You should always try your stitch out on a scrap of fabric to make sure that the tension is where you want it and so forth. You can lift up your presser foot and put your fabric underneath. I tend to just lift up the very tip of it with my finger and push the fabric in from there. You can also adjust this for the width of your seam allowance and how much fabric you want to cut off. In this case, I'm just cutting off maybe a quarter of an inch off the edge of my fabric, so a very small amount. So there's only maybe a quarter of an inch difference between the edge of the knife and where this guide is. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing here. And generally speaking, with knits like this, you want to keep something underneath the presser foot. At times I don't. I break my own rule and I just make sure everything has a long tail so that I have plenty of thread coming out of the machine. Now here, because it was only one layer of fabric, it's bunching up just a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay when I go to put the both layers of fabric underneath the machine. So we're going to go ahead and start with that. This is a tank top that I'm working on. So I'm going to push the presser foot up just a little bit, get my fabric underneath. I really recommend you learn to use a serger without pinning your fabrics together. Going to sew like that, and you want to keep a fair amount of tail on either end of the seam. They will get cut off as you finish the neckline and so forth on your top. We're going to serge the other shoulder. Same thing, lifting up the presser foot a bit, pushing my fabric underneath and letting the serger just do the rest. There we go. Now I'm going to do the side seams, and then I'm going to come back and put the binding on the armholes. So I'm going to line these up and get it started here. Make sure that you don't have any lumps in your fabric as you go along, and also you want to kind of stretch the top and bottom layers evenly as it goes through the machine. Okay, there we go. There's our seam. It looks good. We'll do the other side. Okay, so there is my other seam. It's looking good. In the next video, we will talk about how to do the binding on the armhole and the neckline.